Let's turn our focus now to education, and we are joined from our parliamentary studios by recently appointed Higher Education Minister Naledi Pandor. She has been placed at the helm of the department at a very crucial time where she has to oversee the implementation of free-fee higher education for poor and deserving students, as announced by the former President Jacob Zuma in December last year. Now, the department has been allocated a total of 324 billion rand over the next 3 years, including 57 billion rand to cover fee-free higher education. I've got the Minister behind me over my shoulder. Let's welcome her. Good morning to you, Minister. Thank you very much for your time.
Morning, Leanne, and morning to your viewers as well. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. Minister, I think before we even get into the crux of all that lies ahead of you, I know that you're very passionate about education and, more importantly, very passionate about science. The passing of Stephen Hawkins, for you, this must mean a lot. I mean, this is the field that you are very interested in. What do you think he meant and what he did for us?
Well, certainly it's a very sad day and a great loss to humanity and particularly to the science community. I think for me what he represented was an example of the ingenuity of human beings, and also he managed to tell us to get rid of the many prejudices that we have about persons who have disabilities, because he proved beyond doubt that talent exists everywhere.
Yeah. It's quite incredible. I mean, he's a man that, like we keep saying, he was diagnosed with ALS at 21 years old. I think doctors gave him 2 years to live, and he was the oldest surviving person in the world, as far as we know, with ALS. He carried on and came up with theories that none of us in our wildest dreams could ever imagine.
He kept doing his research work.
Yeah.
He kept inspiring. I mean, he was incredible. He was active, engaging, very, very bright, committed to the world, addressed young people. He inspired. Just, I think, an amazing example to the world.
Which I think is an example for us as well, because, you know, we talk about the opportunities that we need to give our students. And it's a very difficult time in South Africa where education is something that always seems to come up in the headlines for the very wrong reasons. And yet we could have, for example, the next Stephen Hawkins sitting somewhere in a rural area in South Africa, and yet those opportunities are not available to them. You're coming back into this portfolio. What are you hoping to do differently?
Well, I think one of the important things is to certainly make sure that we support higher education and technical and vocational education to provide our young people with real opportunities for quality education and quality skills development. The remit of higher education goes beyond the formal higher education and post-school sector, because we also work closely with the SETAs through the National Skills Authority. And so we're also offering learnership opportunities to those who might not be in the school system and to those who may already be workers. So it's a large, large agenda that we're working with. And my hope is we're able to develop an efficient, responsive post-school system that addresses the range of needs for opportunity that exist in our society. But number one is to bed down and get right our student funding model and ensure we're absolutely efficient in executing it, and that the issue of not receiving allowances or not getting the grants or receiving them late is actually addressed, and all mechanisms are put in place to achieve that. So it's a much bigger funding pool, larger set of tasks, and I think we need to bed that down.
So let's carry on talking about this funding model, because it's always said that money will never be enough. I mean, I think you alluded to this as well. But looking at this allocated budget now, we saw coming out of the national budget saying 324 billion expenditure over the next 3 years. Are you hopeful that this will be enough to at least start implementing, particularly with regard to the fee-free higher education?
Well, I think, as always, we will need more funding, but certainly we've been given a very good foundation on which to build. I'm very happy that we're addressing in particular the grant to universities, because we've always felt this should be increased in order to allow universities to be able to function maximally. So I regard this really as a start to an improvement of funding for higher education and the technical and vocational system. I'm extremely excited about some of the possibilities, particularly responding to the infrastructure needs. I think support for academics would be very important, and we've got to make sure that we manage these funds responsibly and achieve the objectives of development that our country has set itself.
Have you met with universities as yet in South Africa? Because, I mean, you know, a lot of them have spoken about the fact that they knew nothing about this fee-free higher education when it was announced. Obviously, now the knowledge is out there and people are fully aware of it. But have you had engagements with them? Are you both on the same page with regard to the matter now?
Well, I haven't. I've met some vice-chancellors. I've had words of congratulation from a few, but I haven't had an opportunity as yet to meet the entire South Africa Universities group. I am hoping that in the next week or two we will have an opportunity to meet.
All right. Minister,
the team has been working throughout December. I was involved in some of those meetings while I was in my other portfolio, and I've been part of the planning for the student funding from the beginning. So I'm familiar with the issues.
All right. Minister, I'm going to just pause the conversation. We're going to take a quick ad break. We'll resume after this. Do stay tuned to the program.